October 1st. I'm going to continue talking about how I met my fiance. I think that I would go back to that gift bag very quickly, and the condoms that were in it were the same brand and type that this Jewish person named Jonathan, that I had a problem with in Oregon. It was the same kind that he and his sister Helen had. She had this huge, she had an enormous shoebox full of them. And I don't know why she wanted to show them to me, but she just showed me her entire collection one time. And she had a whole shoebox full of them. And it doesn't matter because, you know, they could have come from anywhere. But like I say, I just felt that I was set up from one thing to the next. And then I felt like I was being set up for marriage fraud in Maryland. And when I met some of the people that my fiance knew, some of them were from Colombia, and some of them, there was a sort of an English or British twist to it all. When I first met some of his friends, they all asked me if maybe I'd be interested in help, you know, what kind of work would I be interested in Colombia. And then they said, well, maybe after you're married, you know, what kind of a car would you want? That kind of a thing. And they were basically talking about getting me a Mini Cooper. And I think, and they asked me how much money I would need or how much money I would want, you know, to try to help my son for the legal matter. And I really, really, really lowballed it. Because I thought if they're all going to be helping me maybe, you know, with a little bit for getting my son back, I thought maybe just a reasonable amount, just a little bit to help me out so that, you know, maybe I could do the rest myself. Or it wouldn't be that big of a deal, but I said $10,000. And when I said $10,000 to these people who were from Colombia and talking about British stuff sometimes, I was then being mocked. I noticed, I think some of them tried not to have me notice, but I did notice. It's like they thought I was a fool to be asking for only $10,000, which was nothing. I think they were thinking much, much, much higher figures. And it was kind of interesting because later Kate Middleton wanted to get $10,000, right, from her first lawsuit. Not sure exactly why she chose that number specifically, but probably have an idea. And another thing that I noticed is that when I was with Alvaro, I was going to go to the mine archives, like the bomb and explosives and landmines archives. He didn't want me to go there. I was kind of derailed from doing that. But one thing that stood out to me a lot was the fact that he was trying to keep me from putting anything of myself singing on the internet. And I had one song, and I had a lot of notice from singing one song. And I had a very, very good voice naturally. I could hit very high notes with clarity. And I didn't even have to practice. It was just sort of a natural gift. I did practice a lot when I was younger, but the tonal quality of my voice was still very good, even though I was older by that time. And now it's been ruined. I mean, I uploaded something just recently, and my voice cracks and breaks, and when I even try to go into the high notes now, because I was tortured and poisoned in Seattle, Washington. And it was deliberately done to ruin my voice, and they did ruin my voice. The FBI blocked me from trying to report it. The marshal's offices laughed at me and made fun of me. Nobody cared what happened to me at that point. All they cared about was trying to win their game of where I was going to crawl to next. They didn't want me to ever succeed. They wanted to destroy me and break me down physically and emotionally. And they wanted to rob me of anything that they thought might be attractive, or a talent that I might have that I could even make money with, because at that time, even back then, I had a good enough voice that I could have done a lot more with it. And my voice quality is probably at about 20% of what it used to be. Because of the assault that occurred in Seattle, which I tried to report to FBI. And that assault happened after I broke up with Alvaro. So that was later, down the road. However, when I was with Alvaro, he liked hearing me sing a little bit, thought I had a pretty voice, that kind of thing, but then he was really trying to shut me up a lot. And every single time I was going to try to make some clips, I'd start doing like a demo type of a thing, and record some of my original song ideas onto a zip drive, or, pretty much like a zip drive, and then be able to save it, upload it if I wanted to or not. And every single time that I was at that house in Germantown, I never once had a problem with my internet connection, except when I was trying to do that. And I had this weird feeling. I just thought, who is responsible for not wanting me to upload beautiful music? Songs that were beautiful, that I had written and could sing beautifully. And I thought, it doesn't make any sense. The only type of person that would only interfere with my computer connection when I was trying to upload, me singing, would be somebody who's jealous of my singing and who doesn't want to attract attention from somewhere else. And so then it made me think, so here I am in this house with a woman from Colombia upstairs, and I don't know who was servicing the internet connection, but it had me thinking, who is really behind all of this? That they want me so badly to marry Alvaro, but they're trying to prevent me from putting anything of my singing voice and documenting it, and creating any original songs or singing along with something. And then just a couple years later, of course, I'm being assaulted in a violent way so that I lose my voice, most of my singing voice. It doesn't make sense, because like I said, it was just sort of like somebody wanted me to hurry up and get married to him and do a group a favor, and do another group a favor by having me look married and then maybe divorced or who knows what, so that I was just out of the way, and that some group didn't have to worry about me. But my own fiance was, I just remember that. I just remember thinking, who is Alvaro taking orders from? That he would try to keep me from going to the courthouse in Maryland, then try to set me up to go to jail, and be encouraging me to go with some other person. And then he's trying to keep me from singing. And I kind of felt like it was somebody telling him, I mean, someone else, I don't believe it was Alvaro, that was disconnecting my Wi-Fi every single time I was trying to upload things or sing or record and document something. So yeah, Alvaro was not sitting on the Wi-Fi side of things, disconnecting my computer every time. That was someone else. But then he was coming over and saying, don't sing. And so he had to have been getting that kind of a directive from somebody who was connected to the individuals that kept disconnecting my computer connection, because they didn't want me to be heard. I guess, now I sort of hesitate to put myself singing anywhere, because it gives the people who ruined my voice credit, makes them feel good, because then they can listen and hear how different my voice is, and laugh at what they've done and sort of celebrate that. But I guess I decided recently to put a couple of things up, because it was singing to God, and I thought if somebody else wanted to hear someone truly singing to God with their heart, and it matters how the voice sounds, but I decided to not let someone's attempt to stop me and to ruin my life keep me from maybe being a blessing to somebody else in some way. So that is why I have gone ahead and uploaded a couple of things. So, other things that Alvaro did, he was very dependable in some ways. The entire time I was with him, every single day, he picked me up at the same time. I always knew that he was going to pick me up at a certain time. I tried to work on different things at a coffee shop, emailing people, trying to find lawyers, trying to connect with CPS, whatever I could do. And, while I was under all this stress, and there were a lot of international people. When I went to this coffee place in Germantown, I remember being watched by a ton of Russian Jewish people all the time. And and they all looked alike, sort of. And so I finally asked one of them, who seemed to be part of that group, what his ethnicity was, and he said Russian Jewish. And I said, oh. And the reason I had asked was because I always noticed them watching me and kind of being around where I was. And then a different time, there was a Catholic man, and I don't remember if he was, I don't think he was a priest. He was like an instructor of some kind, or a doctor maybe. I think he was maybe a professor. He came up to me and kept asking me if I was Russian. If I was Russian. Are you Russian? I would say no. Are you sure you're not Russian? Yeah. I mean, as far as I know, nobody in my family has ever said one word about anyone being related to anybody who's Russian. And he just never let it go. He was always asking, like, do you have anybody? He said, you look so Russian. He said, you really act Russian. I don't know, just go on and on and on. So here's this whole thing about, am I Russian? And then there were all these Russian Jews around me. So I was kind of wondering what was going on with that. Other people came in from other countries, and I think, just some of them may be curious about who I was, but that was the main thing that I noticed about being there. I also remember that after I was given my engagement ring, which was like a phony kind of plastic thing, for less than $100, which Henry encouraged him to buy, I remember some women mocking me over it, like looking at it and pretending to say it was very pretty and then laughing to people. I just ignored that. I mean, I had already seen the rings that were supposed to be for the wedding, and they were not the plastic